Hey, all you mysterious Roxanne dudes and dudettes, Toy Shiz here, and I have a very cool review for you guys. I was at Wondercon this past Friday on the first day when it started, and was lucky enough to just kind of look at the program guide and see that they were doing a introduction to the brand new Freeform Channel television show from Marvel, the Cloak and Dagger series, and it was amazing. The creator was there, Joe Pokaski and Jeff Loeb, who many of you will know from comic books, of course. And they also had Cloak and Dagger themselves, Olivia Holt and Aubrey Joseph, and they were fantastic. They did a little bit of a panel to begin with, talking back and forth, and Jeff Loeb came up on stage and said, hey, if you'd like, we can show you the trailer. It's about 45 minutes. We hope you enjoy it. And everyone just started going crazy because what he truly meant was that we were about to see the very first episode of the television show. And it was fantastic. I have to say, I was really... When I did the information for like who in the holy heck are Cloak and Dagger because of the Marvel Legends figures coming out, I learned a lot, and I also did a little bit of research on the show. And I'm gonna be honest, from seeing like the trailer and stuff like that, I had a particular idea. I thought it was going to be primarily a teenager show, kind of in the vein of like a CW drama or something like that. So I'll be honest, my expectations were not that high, but being that it was Marvel and I'm a big fan of the Marvel universe and I can't wait for Infinity War, I felt like out of every program that was there that day, I wanted to see this one. So I went and took my seat, and it was amazing. The show was really cool, and I'm not going to get into spoilers here. That'll be in just a few seconds, but I'll cap it off and let you know. But just from what I thought the show was going to be about, I thought they may kind of tone it down. Being that Cloak and Dagger has a lot of history, with drug use, they were primarily created as street level heroes that go up against drug dealers and addicts and stuff like that, and using their powers. And Tandy's powers kind of heal drug addictions, and what Cloak does by enveloping people and basically eating them, and stuff like that. I didn't know how they were going to really fit that together, and they did not shy away from any of that sort of thing. I was very impressed. This is the type of show, it might as well be on Netflix. It's a Netflix show, basically minus the more hardcore edges, swearing, more gratuitous sex and stuff like that. That's in there as well. And don't get me wrong, it's not overly exaggerated or anything like that, but you really feel for these characters. You feel the dramatic nature, you feel all the sadness. There's a little bit of comedy sprinkled in, there's some action and such like that, and just an overwhelming just opening really leads to great storytelling and everything else. So I was, like I said, very blown away, very happy just to be able to see this so early. The premiere isn't until June 7th, which is a Thursday. But yeah, they treated us to an extra special event. So I highly recommend this show. I think it's going to be great. I think young people and teens are really going to gravitate towards it. But people, my age and stuff like that, it's you can get with it if you're a fan of some of this old CW shows like I am. Uh, WB, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and stuff like that. It's very much in the vein of that, but with tweaks and modern twists and stuff like that. So what I'll do now is, I can't. If you guys want to shut the review off and everything, I would wait if you'd like and be pleasantly surprised when June 7th hits. But following now, there will be spoilers, so this is just a warning, and I'm going to go into heavy detail regarding the first episode. So if you're going to stop now, I definitely recommend this show. It's fantastic, but let's get into what the entire first episode was about. All right, and as I said before, this is your last warning because full spoilers ahead from here on out. So, anyways, as it starts off, we have a young Tyrone Johnson, who is, again, played by Aubrey Joseph, and he's talking to his older brother about, being tough and streetwise, and they're with another friend, and kind of going back and forth, saying, oh, you think you're tough, and, yada yada. Meanwhile, as this is going on, a young Tandy Bowen, who is played by Olivia Holt, is at a ballet class. It's a lot of imagery of, tying the shoes and balancing and everything else like that. She gets out early and she calls her father, who just happens to work at the Roxxon Corporation, and that's going to play a big part in this series. So while this is all simultaneously happening, this is basically tying this all together. A massive rainstorm starts to kick in. Tyrone goes on, disregards his brother's warnings and everything, and he goes and steals a car radio, breaks into a car and takes it. And as this is happening, Tandy is talking to her father about her mom, not feeling good recently and asking if her family's okay. And then, kind of alluding the whole, drug addiction and stuff like that. She wonders why her mother has been taking so many pills. Tyrone makes off with the radio and meets up with his brother, who he then, of course, he shows it to him. His brother gets very upset, starts, yelling at him and stuff. And together, he convinces Tyrone to return the stolen radio. And as, of course, in typical fashion, they go to return it, and of course they happen upon a police car that immediately, stops them and starts to chase them. Flashing in back to Tandy and her father driving, it is revealed through a phone call that he makes that he works at the offshore oil refinery for the Roxxon Corporation. He becomes heated on the phone and starts driving erratically in the rain. Tandy sits in the back, terrified, and then a mention of a catastrophic accident via the phone call is mentioned as being imminent at the refinery, and her father, becoming enraged and everything, narrowly misses a car and gets sideswiped and then careens over the side of the bridge where they were traveling, hits the water, they both get knocked out, and the car begins to fill with water. Meanwhile, the cops finally catch up with Tyrone and his brother at the docks, and he tells Tyrone to hide and escape while he deals with the cops himself. With the radio in his hand, he pleads with the cops, and just then, in the very background, the refinery explodes, and inadvertently, one of the cops shoots Tyrone's brother twice, and he ends up falling to his death in the water, while Tyrone screams and jumps in the water after him to try and save him. Tandy then wakes up in the car to find her father has drowned, and the car is quickly sinking fast and filling up with water. A montage ensues where it's like a flashback between Tyrone and her. Tyrone ends up finding his dead brother in the water. Tandy tries to, escape the car, albeit unsuccessfully. As Tyrone begins to swim to the surface, he becomes disemboweled by, the water and everything, and he begins to drown. And as that begins to happen, a massive shockwave of light exudes from him. While then we flash back to Tandy, who begins to see a smoky darkness envelop the car window that's about to break, giving to the pressure of the water in the car. She then reaches into the darkness as Tyrone reaches into the light, and together they grab each other's hands. And then we have just a terrific introduction right then and there, and the full title reveal of CLOAK and DAGGER. And that whole sequence is just amazing. It's perfect storytelling. It's just enough information to get it rolling. It's so many questions and so many just setups in such a little amount of time. It's perfect storytelling. So, as it fades to black, we are then reintroduced, and what I kind of liked about this is it just says years later. It's not a given set amount of time, so, you can kind of estimate they're obviously in high school now, Tyrone and Tandy, but finding themselves in different paths of life, where Tandy was the rich girl, and Tyrone was a little bit of a hoodlum, and they've kind of crisscrossed each other now. Tandy is down on her luck. She is, in fact, a drug addict herself. Her mother is in, the pits because of losing her father, and as a result, her father was blamed for the refinery explosion, and they've essentially lost everything. Tyrone, in a sense, carries the weight of course, having his brother die. He's been getting into fights, not doing so well in school, and, generally kind of gradually screwing up while dealing with, teen angst and all that kind of thing. So as we begin to see Tandy again for the first time, she's in a club, she's partying it up, she's drinking, she meets a guy, and together they go back to his house, which he's been bragging about owning and everything else like that. So what happens is, basically, they start to kind of get it on, and she reluctantly, of course, doesn't want to, and it kind of is, kind of shown that he is not going to take no for an answer, essentially. And as it kind of flip flops, she is in fact drugged him, and her boyfriend or guy or whoever it is, once the guy passes out, then they proceed to rob him blind. We then go back to Tandy, who, continues to use drugs. Her house is broken. Her mother is pretty much an alcoholic. She's working a dead end job as a waitress and gets fired, and it's that sort of thing. Where it's also told that Tandy hasn't been home for weeks and has been staying with her boyfriend and all that kind of stuff. As we come to find out more, so regarding what happened with the brother of Tyrone, the cops basically cover that up. Tyrone, as a kid, when being interrogated, said that a man with a scarred face is in fact the one who shot his brother, whereas the police captain assures him there's no one like that on the force. And of course, as we all know, something happened. We don't know what just yet, but there was a man who shot his brother. So it kind of goes back and forth between that dichotomy for a little bit. Tyrone ends up getting invited to a party, and what happens essentially is that he ends up meeting Tandy, who, kind of flirts with him back and forth, kind of brushes him up, examines his sweatshirt because she accidentally spills a cup of beer on him. He goes to buy a girl that he's kind of seeing a glass, and finds out that his wallet has been stolen, and as a result, you quickly find out Tandy is the one that robbed him. So he chases off after her. They go into like a cemetery kind of thing, finally grabs her, and when he grabs her hand, it kind of meshes with the light and darkness again and sends a shockwave out, which knocks both of them back. She examines her hand, which is glowing white, and his hands, which are kind of like a smoky, black fog effect. And, she starts screaming, "What did you do to me?" and back and forth, and ends up taking off. Right before, though, she leaves, he, interrogates her a little bit, and they kind of come to an idea that they know each other, and that Tandy kind of recognizes him as the boy from the beach, and that's what she says. We don't know what that exactly means just yet in the story, but we find out in just a few. So Tyrone and Tandy go about their days, trying to figure out at least, what happened, why do they have these, powers or things going on between them. In actually a very funny instance, we see Tyrone go to bed, and he wakes up on the roof of a building, and he has his the sheets that he went to bed with, and he's surrounded in a cloak, essentially. And just visually, it really looked amazing. The material that they used for the sheets and everything, really nailed home like the cloak effect. It's an all black cloak. It's not like in the comics where it's a little bit of a blue with some design elements and everything. It's just a flat black, and he is of course nude underneath. But it really just imagery wise and kind of harkening back to the comic book, it really nailed it. Tandy goes on to kind of have instances with her powers back and forth. I think that Tyrone or Cloak kind of gets the better spotlight in a sense until later on, towards the end of the episode, where Tyrone keeps having the instances where he goes to sleep and he wakes up in a trunk of a car, and it's revealed that the car actually belongs to the cop who shot his brother, and then a fight ensues between the two of them, and Tyrone ends up getting away. Tandy, meanwhile, gets cornered again while trying to attend the ballet with tickets that she had stolen from the gentleman that she tried to rob at the beginning of the episode. And of course, him and his buddies find her and take her into an alleyway where they pretty much, the two buddies take off, and he pretty much proceeds to rape her, oddly enough. She fights him off, and it kind of goes back between Cloak kind of feeling what she's feeling and vice versa. And as she gets mad, he kind of winces a little bit and falls back with a giant wound in his stomach. And then you come to find out that Tandy has created one of her light projectiles. Essentially, it's like a crystalline kind of light dagger. And she has stabbed him. And it's really cool because you see blood on the end of like a light-tipped spear, and the spear dissolves and all the blood kind of falls off. It's really cool the way they did it. as that kind of ends, you're left with the fact of, Tandy in her place with trying to discover what the heck just happened, and also Tyrone trying to, explain to himself, why do I have these powers and everything else like that. Just as the story begins to close, we find out that Tandy woke up on the beach with Tyrone as children. Basically, they saved each other, Tandy from the car accident and Tyrone from nearly drowning, trying to save his brother. Tandy makes off with Tyrone's black sweatshirt, and Tyrone ends up with one of Tandy's ballet shoes, and it's revealed at the very end of the episode that each one has kept those said items. And just before it kind of ends and closes right there, they're kind of smiling. They're Tandy wears the sweatshirt, Tyrone holds the shoe, and you feel that they understand one another and they're longing for one another. And depending if they're gonna have a relationship or I don't actually know, and I haven't really wanted to know. I want to be surprised. I'm very interested in this show now, so I don't want to be spoiled by anything. But I don't know if they're going to necessarily do the relationship angle just yet, but they at least will be very, very close and take care of one another, as Cloak and Dagger, usually do in the comics. So it ends pretty much with that, and just it's very interesting, being that it's going to be on the Freeform channel. I know personally, knowing about the backstory between Cloak and Dagger, I pretty much immediately thought that this was going to be a bit of a CW drama, and it is, but it also has the elements that I think are crucial to really hitting home a great Cloak and Dagger story. There's, drug use, there's sex, there is, the particular losses of, family members and things like that. Things that I thought they may kind of shy away with, and it's very, very prevalent, and it really nails the story home. So I had an absolute blast watching this show. I think that Olivia Holt and Aubrey Joseph are perfectly cast. He's really fun. There's a particular scene where they catch up to each other in the cemetery, and they activate their powers, and she pretty much disappears, and he has a funny one-liner that it's like, he's saying like hello, hello. He's like crazy white girl. You have to see it in the context and everything, but it made the entire audience laugh. Another thing is that you are sitting in a packed auditorium. You're seeing a first episode of a show. Everyone's very excited, but I really felt that everyone was generally impressed with how the show unveiled itself. Just the opening, when it finally revealed the credits after the story interludes and everything like that, everyone clapped. I clapped. I was very excited. I was very excited to see where the show was going to go, and it did not disappoint. Now, I don't know what's to say about there's going to be 10 episodes, you got 9 more to go, but just in starting the show off, it catches your attention, it brings you into the story. I really want to know what they're going to do. I want to know about the Roxxon Corporation. I want to know about the cop with the scar on his face. I want to know if they're going to maybe include other Marvel characters, here and there. They are street level heroes. There's not to say why couldn't, the Punisher or Daredevil or heck, even Spider-Man could show up. That would be totally wild. I don't think they'll ever get to the point where they're going to cross over with a Maximum Carnage or anything like that. But, you never know. It could happen. That could be Marvel Phase 3. That would be that would be pretty cool. I do like that they don't shy away from the drugs, and just it's a very depressing show, but it's also a lot of fun, and I think that that's where it's going to head. You're going to have a lot of depressing moments, a lot of sad moments, a lot of chemistry between Cloak and Dagger themselves, and I think that's what they're going to nail home. You already feel a sense of kinship between them. So, do I recommend this show? Yes. The first episode at least, I definitely recommend it. I can't wait to see more of this. I really wish it was on a Netflix so that I could have finished the entire run of the season, but this will be a weekly show. There'll be 10 episodes, and it will premiere in June. It's a little bit of a wait, but I have to say the wait is definitely worth it, and I can't wait for everyone to
experience. It's a what they've done with the characters. They've kind of changed the roles a little bit, tweaked things that just work better, I think, in the sense of a television show. So while you may think like, oh, well, why'd they change this, why did that, it really does all kind of mesh well together, and I have zero qualms with it so far. It's fantastic. I really like the show. Jeff Loeb did a great job. The writers did a great job. Olivia Holt and Aubrey Joseph are just nailed it, and as I said, they're perfectly cast. I can't say enough nice things about this show. You know, I'll wait till June to see it, and then subsequently, the weeks after that to finish it off. But it's definitely a show I recommend, and I can't wait for you all to watch it. So, thank you very much for listening to me rabble on about this awesome premiere. WonderCon was fantastic. So many great people, and just the panel for Cloak and Dagger was so much fun. If you'd like. And you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. Please subscribe if you like, and hit the notification bell so you can find out about more videos like this that I'll definitely be doing. And I think I'm going to be reviewing the show. I think I'll start off with a show like this when it finally premieres. I think that would be kind of fun to do a weekly review show for Cloak and Dagger, so I'll definitely be doing that. If you are on Instagram or Twitter, please follow me at Shiz. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and I will talk to you all soon. Have a great night. Adios.